We are not only going to win here in Texas on Super Tuesday, we're going to beat Trump in November.
Bernie Sanders has good reason to be confident after primary wins in New Hampshire and Nevada. As the current frontrunner, he's become a target as opponents criticize his platform as incredibly expensive. At the top of the Sanders list, Medicare for all, with a price tag estimated at $34 trillion or more over 10 years. Not billions, literally trillions. Then there's Sanders' support of the Green New Deal, the plan to move America away from fossil fuels at a cost of more than $16 trillion over a decade. Not all Democrats are on board with his ideas.
I do not support Medicare for all.
I profoundly disagree with his solution.
Sanders says Medicare for all will save the country money in the long run, but he acknowledges it will be expensive.
I can't rattle off to you every nickel and every dime, but we have accounted for it. You talked about Medicare for all. We have options out there that will pay for it.
And there's a lot to pay for. Sanders has several other proposals, too. In addition to Medicare for all and the Green New Deal, Sanders has a guaranteed housing plan he says will cost $2.5 trillion over 10 years. He'll spend $2.2 trillion to make college free and cancel all student debt. $1.5 trillion on universal child care and pre-kindergarten, plus $1.2 trillion for K-12 educational spending and higher salaries for public school teachers, and $1 trillion for infrastructure. Add it all up, and it comes to around $60 trillion in new spending. That would double the size of the government. Critics other than his opponents, such as conservative economist Stephen Moore, question whether some of Sanders' new spending programs, like Medicare for All, would actually work for the people they're supposed to help.
Medicare is running out of money. The worst thing you can do for seniors is then put millions and millions and potentially tens of millions more people on Medicare, because the whole system is going to collapse. And this is one of the reasons that polls show that two groups that are most opposed to Medicare for all are, number one, senior citizens who depend on Medicare, and number two, union members who already have very good private health care plans but would lose them under Medicare for all. Remember, under Medicare for all, it's not if you like your health care plan, you get to keep it. This is, we don't care if you like your health care plan. We're moving you into a new system, and that's what makes Americans very nervous.
One thing basically everyone agrees on: Sanders will need to raise and even create taxes to pay for them. And he has a long list of new taxes, from increasing the payroll tax paid by employees and businesses by 80%, repealing President Trump's tax cuts, a wealth tax, raising capital gains taxes on investments, plus cutting military spending, and far more. Moore says that would be bad for the country.
I think it's do severe damage to the U.S. economy to add all of this spending, all of these new regulations, and then tax rates that would go up to 50, 60, in some cases 70%. We haven't had tax rates like that since the Jimmy Carter years.
And economists on both sides of the political aisle argue that Sanders' new taxes would not even come close to paying for all his policies.
The math doesn't add up. If you take all the taxes, and there are many taxes under Bernie Sanders' plan, and you try to match them up with the cost of the spending, it still doesn't pay for it.
That means on top of all of his new extremely costly government programs, the Sanders plan would dramatically increase America's exploding $23 trillion national debt.
You could potentially see over the next 10 years a doubling or even tripling of the national debt.
Sanders' enormous spending plans haven't gotten much public attention yet, but that's likely to change as he wins more and more delegates in the race for the Democratic presidential nomination. Gary Lane, CBN News.